pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kevin?
Here.
Tom?
Here.
Bob?
Here.
Rod?
Here. Everybody get a chance to read the minutes?
Correction to the date on the agenda, it should say 2022, not 2021. I'll catch up to myself.
Motion to approve minutes as presented.
Any further discussion? Since there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Minutes approved. Is there anybody here from the planning commission? Oh, there's Dorothy.
Yeah, we didn't have a meeting. There was nothing to discuss, so we saved the town some money.
Did you hear? Go.
I got a phone call or message from a local realtor asking about someone who was on Galvin looking to subdivide their property, so I don't know if they'll be contacting you or
We
not.
haven't heard anything.
So I gave them your name
Yeah,
to contact, because that's the starting point, so.
I got a call today from a realtor, but until it goes in front of the county for rezone land petition, we don't jump the gun.
Did you hear any more about their changing of ordinances and stuff?
Not a word from the county at all.
Okay. I had called her and left a message, or I talked to her actually in person. I left a message and talked to her on the issues that you had brought up at the last meeting. So I'm just wondering if she got back to you about anything else.
Not a word.
I know they're changing a lot of people up there right now, so. Garbage and recycling, well.
We had a quarterly meeting on February 23rd, Cameron Town Hall at 7:30 p.m. All the townships were represented. Cameron, Lincoln, Marshfield, Miller, Richfield, and Rock. The only significant information to share is the tire collection day is going to be Saturday, April 30th. That's in my article that I sent to Nicole over the weekend here, so she'll be publishing that when she sends that out. The reason it was moved originally, I think I had put in last fall's article that it was going to be on Saturday before that, but apparently Deb got behind on getting the draft put together. So anyway, it's now going to be Saturday, April 30th, from 8 to 3 at Suncrest Trucking. So similar setup as last year as far as fees for any extra tires. You know, residents can bring up to 8 car tires. Yeah,
Bob, did you put that in the newsletter? Because the newsletter should. Thank you. Big letters, so the people that aren't here tonight will.
Yep. Yeah, it's all in there. Also, and so it'll be in that ad as well. So there'll be an ad in the Hub City Times and Buyer's Guide. There'll be a little teaser ad on the 20th of April, and then there'll be the fuller, the bigger ad that you've seen will be on the 27th. So the collection day will be Saturday the 30th. So yeah, everything essentially highlighting the fees for the various tires. So if you want to bring a tractor tire or whatever, like I highlighted that in that article that I gave to Nicole. There was some discussion amongst some of the town members about the current contract for the garbage collection and the fees for that. And some of the local areas have been using a company by the name of Harder out of Wausau. And then one of the guys that was in the, if it was Richfield or Lincoln Township, he just started a business or bought a business and he was using somebody out of Abbotsford. Medford area. So there was some discussion about taking a look at the costs by using someone alternatively, but we still have like 3 years left in our contract. So, not sure that we can do anything about that right now, but definitely gonna start looking at that a little more. So, that's all I had.
Nicole's not here tonight, did she leave anything with you?
She sent me an email that she has some information on the broadband support request. She would like to encourage everybody to check the library website for the adult and the youth programs. She wants to recommend to the board under the allocation that the refund we received from last year's library goes to 2022's library budget. She has a final reminder for the deadline of today to get the newsletter articles. She said the only thing she hasn't gotten was highway, fire, and anything that the chairman wanted. And after the last board meeting, she reached out to town of Cleveland because of the question of plowing or salting to see if they had any guidelines. She hasn't received a response, but she plans to reach out to a few more townships. Said it was important information, helpful if the board wants to discuss plowing cadence for next winter.
Buildings and grounds, Kevin?
Nothing.
Highway, Tom?
I reached out to the DNR last week to see if I could set up some kind of a time on this spring melt here that we could walk through. The person that I had contacted a month ago is on extended leave. So after some looking on the internet and making a couple phone calls, I did find somebody that is willing to get the notes from the first person I talked to. And he said he would go through them and then give me a follow-up call to see if she had written anything down and or if he would be willing to come up in this area. He doesn't come up this far, but he said that if it requires it, he will come up and meet with me and we can go over some kind of a game plan. Basically what I'm looking at is last year we had a ton of phone calls from residents. It would be west of Highway E, basically from Man up to almost the bridge up there and all those subdivisions that lead down into the marsh. A lot of standing water, and I went down there multiple times and took videos and walked the roads when it was raining, and the water just doesn't seem to be receding down. It just like sits there, and then it's backing up towards the homes more and more. So that was the issue that I put forward to the DNR, and he did tell me that he would look at this and he would get back to me. So I have not heard as of yet on that follow-up. But I did just talk to him last week. So I'm guessing this week, next week, he'd probably come back with a phone call anyway. Road limits are coming up. Just remember that they're gonna be out there. They're out there for a reason. We're following what our Marathon County's doing, and basically he's telling us unless you really need to get in there for basically a resident, like we have a resident that needs a well, and the driller can't get there for a little bit, so we are going to give him the permit to get in there so he can get his well drilled. But this is gonna be a case by case. Not everybody's gonna get that permit. The county's really strong on this right now as far as holding true to this and not giving everybody and their brother a permit if they wanna get in. They're telling us that it's gonna get harder and harder and harder to repair these roads, so take care of them. So that's the direction that we're going to take also. Not saying that you can't get one, but it's gonna be harder to get that permit. We have spring thaws actually coming our way now, so if everybody could just keep an eye on their culverts, making sure that they're not frozen up. If they get frozen up, give us a call. Maybe we can come out and give you a hand with that. If not, at least come out and let you know what we can do about it, or you can. It was a pretty average winter. I looked in a lot of the fields until today. I saw a lot of dirt out there, so I didn't think this thaw was gonna be that bad on the culverts. I could be wrong with what we're gonna get the next day or two, I'm not sure, but please just keep an eye on the culvert, make sure that the thaw is going through them, not over the roads. The Stott Bridge, we still have outstanding money on that, and from what Patty and I can come up with, we're estimating between $50,000 and $60,000 left we have to pay on the bridge. As of Thursday. Not sure when all this is gonna come in yet. And that's what I have. Any questions?
Tom, have you heard anything about up in Price County? I see this thing on Facebook where whoever just, some guy that's in charge of whatever for the limits, road limits,
Okay.
won't let Mullins Dairy come in and pick up milk from these farmers. Did you see anything about that?
I did not.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of farmers really pissed off about it, I mean, and rightly so.
Yeah, and I really wonder, I mean, I can't imagine that we go that far. I mean, we have to use our heads on this because our roads are falling apart.
Yeah, I understand that, but, you know, I'm not saying one way or another, right or wrong, but
No, I have not heard that.
the way I always look at it is, it's a road. I mean, big goddamn deal, it's a road.
Well, yes and no. I mean, to some extent, I agree with that. But
I mean, as far as in McMillan, let's be real, these roads are crap.
they are.
Yep,
But that doesn't mean we should be making them worse.
no, I agree.
So, but yeah,
I just
I
wanted
have
to
not
do it.
heard that. I have not heard that, no.
Yeah,
But
it was on
that's,
Facebook, I
That's
don't
pretty
know,
serious.
I'm assuming it's true.
Yeah, that's pretty serious.
Farms are getting a lot bigger and the trucks are getting a lot bigger too.
Pardon me?
The farms are getting a lot bigger and so the milk trucks are getting a lot bigger.
Yeah, I understand that, but nevertheless, I mean, you know, what the hell are these, I'm not arguing one way or the other, I'm just saying, what the hell are these farmers supposed to do with their milk?
Yeah,
Right.
Carry it by buckets? You know, that ain't gonna work.
right.
I think they can stop.
To me, well, that's Price County, so never mind.
Okay.
And that is part of the problem, bigger trucks.
Bigger, yeah.
I helped the guy haul milk back in the early '70s, and he ran into the same thing in the spring. You know, he had a smaller truck with a single axle and a double, and that was right around here. And he had to go into some of these farms with that single, and then come out and pump into his double. They wouldn't let him in,
Yeah.
you know, and that's around this area.
And like I said, Marathon County, I mean, they made the statement that we should start watching our roads closer because I mean, prices are skyrocketing and it's just getting so much more expensive to fix these roads and maintain them. So,
Yeah, I got a question on this. Can these road limits or load limits, whatever the hell you call them, do they apply to the fire trucks too?
no, they don't.
They're emergency vehicles.
Correct.
What do they weigh? I have no clue what, you know.
I'm not sure what they weigh. I mean, they're heavy. I'm sure they're over the limits, but they are emergency vehicles, yes. I do have one more question here, and maybe somebody can give me direction in this. And I'm talking about culverts, and I know in the past, that I know Pat goes out and he's jabbed and thawed these culverts out and stuff. And I didn't ask, and I should have, I just didn't. If Pat has somebody help them, and I know that in the past I've seen it where people from the fire department have come out and helped. And I don't know if they were, I'm guessing they were. Do we pay those people? Or is this volunteer, do you know? I don't know. And I should have asked Pat to see what his comment on this was, but I didn't. Does anybody know?
I helped Pat several times, and I put in whatever the hourly wage was for the township.
Into the township? Okay. Okay. So can we have volunteers help with that?
Are they gonna be volunteers, or you're gonna be paying them?
Well, that's the question I'm asking. Can we have a volunteer?
A volunteer, yeah,
Yes, we can have volunteers help Pat do that?
fire department members, I believe,
Okay.
because that, you're using fire trucks, am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, either that or salt.
Yep.
Because I know at our place, we had an issue where our culvert froze up, we just dumped some salt by the culvert, and that took care of it in a couple hours, so.
Okay. Okay, it's just something I had in my mind and I was thinking about it, so. Thank
Putting
you.
their groundwater?
Yes, I am. It was
Okay.
clean salt.
I had also got paid too when I was on, before I was town chair, I had also got paid for it.
Okay.
So it was at the rate, it was at the
Okay.
rate for highway, yeah, it was through
Okay.
the highway.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Fire department, other unfinished pieces?
We had 9 EMS calls, 1 mutual aid call, 1 public assist call. Currently don't have any new hires. Lori and Alicia have completed their fire inspector 1 class. Alicia is currently taking a firefighter 2 class. For training, they're doing a live burn this coming Saturday. And there's nothing to report for the EMS group at this time.
Nothing from the board, questions? Okay.
Where does the live burn training, what is that all about?
So we'll be burning a shed in the corner of Stott and McMillan. Rod, what else is there?
There's a pile of,
I don't even
basically
know where to
building
look.
materials there too.
Okay. Well, they're going through hose evolutions, water shuttling, get some of the rest out.
Do we have to have, I'm just curious, do you set up with police or do you pull in, you're all in the yard and you just do it like a regular fireman basically, or do you have control by police or anything for?
The trucks will be in the yard, he's plowed out enough room on the yard, as long as it doesn't get too soft, well, most of the trucks in the yard, he does have, or by his 2 sheds.
Okay.
So I had the trucks needing to respond there, and then anything we wanna use for the pumping will be farther in, and then we'll be shoveling water.
Thank you.
Treasurer Steve?
The accounts reconciled, with the exception that somebody in the audience, I believe, has got an issue with the way the park funds are being handled.
There was nothing deposited in there, all you guys did was take money out of it.
Since I've been the treasurer, every $200 cash receipt that we've got has always gone into the checking
And
account.
we didn't have anything last year. We had no rentals last year.
Fair. No, seriously, that's always been the way I've done it.
Yeah, we used to do it where it was deposited at the end of the year, but it doesn't show any deposits for,
No, we made a transfer this year, I think it was this year.
well, I didn't, I just looked at it. Right here, for the whole year. It starts out
Oh,
at,
it didn't take place last year, it took place this year.
I know that,
Okay.
you just made a, transfer out, but there were no deposits put in there for the whole year, for income.
So how is that supposed to work?
At the end of the year, what you would, it's always been just deposited into the checking, and however many rentals, you would put that money, that $100 for each rental into the park fund.
So the park fund gets the $100 rental, but not the $100 refund? of the
Deposit, the deposits go back out.
Okay, I can take another look at that.
Because it shouldn't be going down, it should be going up.
Okay. I'm glad somebody reads the darn thing. And I take it that we have to decide something about the excess funds from last year?
Separate item.
That would be the next item, yes.
Okay.
So your report's done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next item would be the allocation of end of the year funds. under number 1, under the treasury report.
You want to approve the report?
Yes. Need a motion to approve the report.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion.
Sorry.
I have a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's financial report. Any further discussion? Since there's no further discussion, all those in favor of passing his, or approving his report, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, say nay. Report approved. Now we'll move on to the allocation of end of the year funds.
What do you recommend, Steve?
I would defer to the board on that.
Steve, down to the penny, what do we have?
You got the December numbers?
Not off the top of my head.
No, you got them there in your report.
$236,731.16. $110,058.99 needs to stay in that newly created savings account. Those are the ARPA funds that we received last year.
So basically about 126,000.
I'm not done.
Huh?
I'm not done yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then $8,559.53 to the library. That was the refund from the difference that the county would have charged. That'll leave you $118,112.64. If you take the Stockbridge contract of $202,000 and subtract what we've already paid out, we should see invoices of $46,433.85. That leaves you with $71,678.79.
And that last number again, please.
$71,678.79.
Thank you.
So we need to basically designate for the library and the bridge, because those are stuff that we know, and you have those numbers. So that would be setting up another savings account, or just where that money is designated?
That money is currently sitting in the new savings account, correct?
The 110,000 is,
Just ARPA is in there right now.
yeah. Everything else is in the tax savings account.
But if we were to designate for the library, and again, for my understanding, that's money that we got back, but with the user's fees that we don't know, we could end up having to give that all right back at the end of the year anyways.
Correct.
And then the bridge is self-explanatory. Money was budgeted for it, pulled out. We still have that bill to pay. So I'm not gonna read the numbers. You have the numbers. I'll make a motion to designate the 8,000, whatever, for the library. You said roughly 46 or whatever that magic number is for the bridge. For bills due yet. I think the art money can just sit where it is. That's already in its own fund. That's not a big deal. And then the remainder is 71,678.79 to highway.
Is that a motion and a second? Is there any discussion?
Yeah, did we cover it all?
That's the question I'm gonna
Yeah,
ask.
let it catch up.
Yeah, that's, I know. I didn't want to put the second in there.
So, library they're taking the refund amount and designated that to the library if needed. The bridge funds, are you comfortable with 46,433, or do you want to do a different number?
I'd like to do a different number. And only because I'm unsure exactly what this is coming in at.
Whatever it actually comes in at, whatever's left, we can reallocate that to highway again.
And we can do that, yes, we can. Even if we take the 71 and put it in, we can take, you know, I'm thinking if we get $5,000 more, we can take that out of that 71 and finish paying that off. That is just,
So you want 51 in there, or 50, or?
it's just a question. I mean, and we can do that. And I'm fine with that. I just want to bring that.
Isn't those funds still on the highway program? Are they?
That is in.
That's in a
total.
separate savings account for.
Yeah. Those are the new one we made.
That all got put into our, Steve,
I'm sorry?
that money that we had set aside for the bridge, that all got put into the general, correct? That's all part of the general right now?
No,
No?
tax savings.
Okay.
The amount we had put away for that was 210 originally.
Correct. Yep.
The contract is 202. So, because we knew it would be a little difference possibly
Yep.
at the end.
And that was the number I kind of had in my head also, that
Mhm.
202, roughly just over 2, so. And that's what I'm thinking all these numbers were taken off of, correct, Patty? Yep, okay. So I'm comfortable with that, as long as everybody else
That's
is.
not the
I just
motion,
wanted to
though.
bring it up. Pardon me?
That's not the motion. Would you like to amend your
I
motion?
will amend my motion to subtract 5,000 from the 71 and put the 5,000 into the bridge. And you said that could be anywhere from 2 to 5 years if bills trickling.
They said from 0 to 3 basically is what he said, but yeah. We just can't.
How do they do their books at the end of the year?
I don't know how they do it except for the year. Bad enough this way, but,
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on that? Since it is none, all those in favor say aye.
I
Those against? Guys have it. That's what we're doing. Pat, your report, when you get a chance to get caught up.
Gary received another letter anonymously. They want you to burn down a house. Rod got a price list from Red Rock Granite mailed to his residence. The annual letter and the Stockbridge construction documents were given to Tom. I have a copy of the Marathon County ordinance that approved the rezone. I'm working on a open records request for agendas and minutes to John Cowell. Sanitary permits were issued to property on Scheuer Creek and Birch Tree. Open book is scheduled for April 13th from 5 to 7. Board of review is scheduled for May 4th from 6 to 8. I also got a copy of that advertisement. We'll try and get that out to the posting places. And I have additional red cards. I've received guidance from the Election Commission, the county clerk, and a note prepared by County Corporate Counsel regarding the use of drop boxes for absentee ballots, which is no longer allowed. The Wisconsin Supreme Court denied the request to stay the order from Waukesha County. So any absentee ballot for April 5th election and beyond has to be either mailed or hand delivered. There is one exception to that rule, and I'm going to follow up with Lee this week to find out if we can still use the box the way it sits, because there's legal exceptions. With that, salt facility inspections are gonna start this week. They asked for updated contact information. In the past, it's always been Pat. Are you guys good with continuing with that?
Yeah.
And I got an inquiry from the Department of Revenue, a revenue auditor regarding the debt service that was included in the levy limit. The request included providing signed and dated loan documents, amortization schedule, copy of the 21-22 budget summaries, and once that request was fulfilled, another one came from the auditor wanting clarification on the actual loan amount, copy of the canceled check, bank statements. I went to First Bank to see if they had something different than what we have in the file, and they don't. And the last I heard from the auditor was if they want something more, they'll be in touch. Ready for the checks? And another long one. 18821 to 18845 with DOT's 2022, it's 09 through 2022-15, in the amount of $361,589.34. That includes, on your checklist, there's one check where the number is 2022. That is voided. The reason it has that number is because I needed a blank number because of the way the software worked. We're also voiding 3 checks that were approved at last month's meeting for the February settlement, which include 18789, 18790, and 18812. Like I said, those were approved at last month's meeting. We got notified on Wednesday of last week from the county treasurer that they had not received any of their February settlement checks. Those were mailed on February 15th, and the checks in the envelope were $327,000 and change. We voided the checks. Rod came in on Thursday, we signed new checks. Thursday after we signed the checks, we got the envelope back in the mail. I took it to the county, showed them the address. They said everything was fine, but it came back returned to no such address, returned to sender. So we have those back. Those are staying in the file. We voided them in the software. We don't have to pay a stop payment check, but we did reissue a check to the county clerk for the dog license settlement, January pill to the treasurer, and February settlement to the treasurer.
I understand the county took a picture of the envelope and came back. Is that-
Both offices, both the treasurer and the clerk's office at the county took copies of the envelope because it was addressed correctly. It just took a month to come back.
Put a stamp on it.
3 stamps. There's a lot of stamps.
That happened to me once, and I think the problem was whoever puts that thing on the bottom of the envelope to direct it to, puts the wrong thing.
And they said that they've had trouble with the scanner because it's handwritten on the envelope, so.
Okay, yeah,
Anybody wants to see the envelope, I have it.
yeah, this happened to me before.
So there were 3 checks in that envelope, you say?
Rechecks. And all the documentation.
18789 and which one was it?
18789, 18790, 18812.
And you're saying you sent 3 new checks?
No, I hand delivered them.
And which ones are those on here?
No stamps.
That is 18828, 18829, 18827. 27 to the clerk is the January dog settlement. 28 to the treasurer is January pilt, and the other is the February settlement.
Motion to approve as presented.
Can I ask questions if you've already made a motion?
I have to second it. I'll second that motion.
Now that we have a motion and a second, now we can have discussion.
So the 1783, the Rigel Plumbing, what's that for?
That is the water pump for the town hall. There was two different days of labor, and then pumps and cables and all kinds of stuff.
Pressure tank switch.
The pump was 603, the labor was $399.50 twice, and then $750.
What's the 258 for Visa?
Might be a wise idea to find a different plumber. That seems pretty awful hard.
Visa is training for Rod for Town Association. Fire department, SCBA is a compressor, was $11.15. The antivirus renewal is $131. File folders was, and Rescue One, a light bulb for Rescue One.
Patty, when this pump went out over here, so you were working up in the office, right? So what happened when you had to go to the bathroom?
I went home,
Really?
yes.
Okay.
There was 3 different plumbers called, and Rigels is the only one that had any personnel or the ability to get it taken care of in a timely manner.
Why couldn't Patty have gone, with the fire department was working, right? The bathroom and everything, toilet? Why couldn't she have gone over there?
I have no idea.
You're the chairman, you're supposed to know this stuff.
Well, I don't know if she had contacted the chief or somebody from over there to get in, so.
You knew the thing went out, right?
I knew the thing had went out, and I had contacted her that it went out. I also contacted Steve that it went out, and they made arrangements, so. If they wanted something, then they call the town chair and I take care of it. If I don't know that they need it, I mean, I don't know that they need it.
Yeah, see, now common sense would have told me, would have made you, shouldn't you have, told her, if you need to go over there, I mean, what's the big deal?
I'm not saying there is a big deal. I'm just saying that if she didn't ask, then
She what?
I said if she didn't ask.
To go to the bathroom.
She shouldn't have to. Common courtesy should tell you, if she's got, if she's working up there and she has to go to the bathroom, what she's supposed to do, go outside and squat by a tree?
Well, why should you have to tell her that she can go over there? and use it?
You what?
Why should you have to tell her? It's one of the town facilities. She could go use it.
She can't get in there, she don't have a code. She needed to ask permission to go to the bathroom.
And then she had to wait for some.
It's like kindergarten up here, ain't it? Jesus.
Did they tell you did they give you a code, Patty,
A code for what?
to go to the bathroom at the fire department? Or what were you told?
I thought that day you'd said that you were gonna work from home. That I thought was our conversation back and forth, so I left it at that.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. Vital Plumbing, Visa, any other questions?
Merchant Utilities, is that broke down so we know what that actually costs to heat for the month over there?
Marshall Utilities and We Energy are broken out. The pavilion is broken out.
Okay. Do you know what that costs for the gas for that for
$772.
the month?
Yes, sir.
You gotta rent that thing more.
Patty, Dempsey Law Office, or Law Service, or whatever the hell it is, what was that for?
That's the attorney. Teleconference with chairperson regarding current town issues. Email the chair, follow up on last question. Teleconference with chairperson on the status of town questions and record requests.
So that was the chairman, not his wife? Right?
Yes.
That's what it says.
Okay.
Gary had his hand up. Rob.
Yes, Gary?
What's the 18840 Provision Partners Cooperative?
Hydraulic. Quick lift, 30 gallons for the shop. Highway. Okay.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Since there is none. All those in favor of approving Patty's report, or approving the checks as she read through? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Checks are approved. Adam, the DNR purchases you were requesting?
We just need approval from the board for the radios for a DNR grant. Comes a total of $4,147.58. There are two smaller ones, but I don't know if we'd have to be approved by the board unless you're doing them all the whole total of the grant.
I don't know if the whole sheet here went out to everybody, just remember it's 2 radios and 2 pagers.
The DNR one,
Yes.
that's the 50/50.
Yeah. Yes.
Motion to approve the DNR purchase for fire department, for radios.
I second that.
Adam, would you give me that total again, please?
$4,147.58.
Thank you.
Does that include shipping?
It doesn't show on the sheet any shipping figure into that, so that'd just be the price of the item.
It was not part of it.
Northway Communications is an Amazon Prime.
Can someone second it? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve that. Any further discussion? If there is none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. Approved. Adam, this is also with you. List of grants to be approved.
This is a list of grants that Lori had
Yeah,
Alliant Energy grant.
So we don't have to go back through all these, these are just free money grants, or these are 50/50 grants?
I'm not sure on that, I just have a handwritten list of the grants that she had written down, I don't know which ones are 50/50 or.
I don't believe any of these are 50/50. For what was explained to me, these are, I could be wrong, but
So what's the WPS grant for? What are they granting money towards? Do we know?
For specific items, I don't know. I don't have all that information, I mean, I just have the list of the names of different grants that are available to the fire department.
I need to take that back. There is 2 of them that are, or possibly 3 of them that would be cost share or match would be the DNR grant that we apply for every year, and then the AFG grant or the SAFER grant through FEMA.
What's the cost? What's the split on it?
It's gonna depend upon what there is, what they go for. The grant, the DNR grant's 50/50, the FEMA, that varies.
Well, the DNR grant, you got numbers for it, right?
That, this would be for the next year to apply for.
Which we fill that out in the fall.
And get the money approved in the fall when the budget time comes through.
You want to continue with the list, or must I have to have more information on these?
Yeah, I think we're gonna need more information in order to be able to talk intelligently about it. We need to know if there's a commitment that the township is gonna be making by applying for the grant. So we need a little background on what the grant's about, what would be applied for.
I'm good with that.
Need more information.
If it's all just free money, yeah, go for it all, but.
Right, I guess we need to understand what each one of these would be, why would we be applying for those, and what would we put that money towards, and what commitment does the township have to make if we were to receive those grants? Is it they give you the money and you can use it, or do we have to spend the money and it's a reimbursement? Is it a 50/50 cost share, which you have to pay it first and then they reimburse you?
And do you have any on that list with a deadline application date that would go beyond April 11th?
No. The only one on here that has the dates would be the Wisconsin Public Service says May 1st.
This Dreams Foundation grant, American Family Insurance,
Is that
says
one? Yeah,
April
that one.
15th.
Yeah. So I'm not sure that one. But I know the Walmart Foundation, that one's just straight money to the department. Spend on what we need.
I guess what I would recommend is get a, like a snapshot, screenshot of whatever their website is for these grants, so that we can have an understanding of what they're for and what they're about.
Alright.
I mean, the Walmart Foundation's streamlined, great, we got time to do that, but we need more information.
Inside track on that one, that should be a given that we're gonna get that one.
Right.
So we want to table this for next month?
Yes. Yeah, need a motion to do that? Make a motion to table it until next month, to get more information.
I'll second
I have a motion and a second to table the list of grants to be approved for next month. All those in favor say aye.
that.
Those against, nay. Table until next month. We have a representative here from the picnic Committee?
We have a picnic DJ contract agreement. Lonnie G was the DJ in the past 2 years, right? Debbie?
Since it started.
No, she wasn't. We had a band the
Oh,
first
that's
year.
right, you had your father.
So, the contract agreement is for the town picnic on July 31st. She'll play from 1 to 5. The amount is $350, payable in full the day of the event.
Motion to approve the picnic DJ contract agreement with Lonnie G.
I'll second that. Out of curiosity, what was the fee last year?
Same. It's been the same ever since she started, so she hasn't raised it.
Any further discussion?
Go on this year because of the water.
What?
This year because of the water.
Gas prices and cost of fortune to get that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the DJ contract? Say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. Guys have it. Agreement approved. With the broadband letter of support and financial commitment request by Marion County Administration, Patty, did Nicole leave you with some information?
Some. The question is, because after she looked into this, then I got an email from the contact that the county gave.
We all got it.
Scott
Yes, that's the one I got.
Bowler from Frontier, you guys all got that?
Yes.
Is that the same thing, or is it different?
Mine's actually on American County Head. There's an attachment to the email. I got it too. Ever saw a follow-up since then?
I didn't print that out, and I can't find the notebook, so,
This one's actually American County letter.
so then
Want me to read it?
Frontier is just contacting for more information and sending the map, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Nicole got information from North County Administrator's Office that there is Town of Reed committing 70,000, Town of Frankfurt 50,000, Harrison 15. And she asked if there was a range that they were looking for, and there isn't. It's just left up to the towns. A timeline. Based on the initial proposal, Frontier anticipates completion by 2 years from the date the application is approved. And then she sent Bowler's information, and they need it at the administrator's office by March 17th. That is the only thing in addition to the emails that use that I have.
If you guys have any questions, I can help maybe clarify some of that.
Yeah, clarify. What is the
One of your
Frontier?
counties.
So the Frontier, so Frontier is a
So there are
provider.
there's two separate things kind of going on there. One is whether you want to give money to support the county's efforts for broadband. That would kind of be one, using your ARPA money to make that contribution. The other thing is the Frontier, so we had 4 providers who came again to the county to work with us to put forth grants to the Public Service Commission in the state of Wisconsin. That was something we did back in the fall. We only got one of those approved, and that was through Serenity, which was out on the eastern side of the county. So for this right here, Frontier, there's a map, I believe, that they sent. It looks like up along Stott Road, Highway C is where Frontier is looking to provide more service. I was just looking at the map now, they've got some dots on
This
there.
one?
Yeah, if you see those
You're
dots.
talking about these dots
Yep.
right here.
Yep. So if you look over on the legend over there, those are that's Frontier, who is legally, who can legally provide that service. So there are something called these RDOFs, rural areas for funding for this sort of thing. There's competition. Frontier is able to do that legally. So what Frontier did is the county went ahead and has an agreement with them for like $1.5 million, where we would provide 400,000, I think, of that to help with Frontier doing this throughout the county. So that's,
You believe that's coming down Stotler?
so it's hard to tell exactly because there's not a road on there. I don't know if it's further south. I don't,
Yeah, I'm gonna guess it might be Drake.
Drake? Yeah.
Because they already have, I don't know whether the fiber optic is actually in the tubes, but I know that the tubes were put in up to the corner up here to Elm Tree Road, so.
Yeah, I have the same map you had, because I'm not part of the task force, and I didn't dig deeper into all the specifics everywhere, where that was gonna be. As representatives of the school district, we got a similar email with that map asking for our support as well. So what they're going to do then is look for your support with this letter to say we would like to move forward with that. That'll get sent to the PSC, and then we'll see if it gets approved. It might not get approved, they might throw it out. If they do approve it, then Frontier currently is saying that within a couple of years, they would help address the need for the people in that area.
I had made a phone call, because there was another map that was given to us, and it looks, I mean, that's it, that's the way it came out. It comes out a little better on your phone, but, I had asked what the targets were, and he had explained some of that, and we don't have to, with the letter of support, he also said we don't necessarily have to come up with money. I mean, obviously, everybody likes money, but the other thing that we could do is offer him a place on our newsletter when it comes out, because he wants to do, possibly would need to do some educational stuff, so it wouldn't cost them. And then also, on our website and stuff, because they have, training videos or whatever, as he referred to them as, to, help the public learn what's exactly going on, who would be getting it. And there's not a lot. I asked him, I says, well, what happens if the line goes through, because there was targeted areas that they had picked addresses, and I says, well, what happens if it goes past that targeted address, but that residence wasn't a target, so then they don't get it, or they'd have more? And he says, what would happen most likely is they would be just asked if they would like to also hook onto the line. So then they would be the same as the targeted address, but they don't target every address, the way he made it sound to me. But the exact route for the cable and everything has not been determined.
I thought there's been federal money the last number of presidential elections that were promised to give broadband through all, everywhere.
Yeah, they've talked about that in the last couple
Yeah.
meetings too.
And I think, how many years ago was that, Deb, that we had Solaris?
Oh, it had to be, what, 4 years, 5 years ago? Something like that. We sent them a letter of support.
And that's the challenge, because people are saying we have money, and then it's up to the providers, the internet service providers, to determine whether they want to do it. So for the years, the struggle is they don't want to do it, because they didn't want to front all of their own money. They just wanted more federal money. So now because of COVID and all the ARPA money and that sort of thing, now they're more willing to do it. In the county, for example, we went with the bug tussle route, right? We're gonna run that fiber around the county and then some towers, which I had come and spoken about at another meeting. Well, now all of a sudden Frontier seems interested, right? Because now there's this kind of, there's money and then there's the competition factor. That's the way I see it. This is an everyday person. They're gonna take as much as they want. They're gonna say, well, our profit margin isn't here, so we're not gonna do that. And those people will continue to have to deal with it.
So
And then when more money comes.
John mentioned at the town association meeting that we had, I forget where it was at, north of Marathon.
Stettin?
Yes, team. That there was 25 million grant that he was using for the broadband expansion.
Well, I don't know the exact number. I know we have a certain amount of money. We have 26 million that the county has, the county use.
So
That's not all being used,
How is
obviously.
that divvied up amongst these projects? Because I'm assuming the providers are installing that infrastructure? Who's installing it?
With Frontier, or
Well, you
with
got
the Bug.
Bug Tussle, you got Frontier, and then that, whatever the other one is called.
Yeah, I mean, so the deal with Bug Tussle was that, that loan with the other counties, that bond that we signed on to. So that might be the 25 million that you're talking about, that the county agreed to Bug Tussle to go ahead and do this work. So Bug Tussle is then getting the contracted work to go ahead and run this line. But they're expected by the end of the year to finish.
Yeah, I guess my concern is that that's all focused along the Highway 51 corridor, which is a high populated area, you got cities, there's a lot of infrastructure there. Us people out in the country, I think, are getting short stick again. So I guess I have a little bit of a heartburn with where they're spending the money.
Yeah, so.
So the
what I can
competition
get
is
for you-
there, there's infrastructure there. Why are we spending all that money for the Bug Tussle in the Plover, or not Plover, but that Cronenwetter, the Mosinee,
Yeah,
and
so I don't know
Southern
what map
Wausau
you're,
areas?
I don't know what map you're looking at right there.
Just red, right?
Yeah, so this isn't the Bug Tussle one. This is these other.
Well, it says Bug
Is
Tussle
it
Road
listed on
Network,
there?
it's the red line. So all the red
That
lines
would,
are
but
Bug
that's
Tussle.
an additional to what we were doing before. So that chart right there is different than the entire Bug Tussle $25 million deal. This is a
Okay.
whole new agreement where Bug Tussle is going to provide service for that. So they're, just like Frontier is doing with this letter, Bug Tussle is also doing with those individual areas. I hope that makes sense. So if you've got the big Bug Tussle, 25 million, we're gonna run a cable around and we're gonna throw up some towers, and there's gonna be some up here in the northeast part, up around that stop areas where a tower is gonna go and all that. That's one. This right here is, there's another grant to be submitted. Frontier is gonna be part of that. They're asking for a letter of support. The county's asking for a letter of support, because the more letters of support, the more likely that we would get the grant from Wisconsin Public Service Commission.
She said Marathon County got 25 million?
That is part of that bond agreement with Fond du Lac County, and there's a couple other counties that are in with Bug Tussle to get that broadband throughout the county, which includes our rural areas.
Yes, Dorothy?
And meanwhile, all of you look at your Frontier bill, and you will see the surcharge that we're being charged for it already. And also Spectrum is coming east out of Spencer. So it's not the only company out there. I could see you guys writing a recommendation to do it, but save our money.
And you're on,
They will charge it to every household when they come to you.
and there's no guarantee anyone's gonna sign up for that service anyway. I mean, that's the other thing, they're gonna run the line, they don't have any guarantee anyone's gonna sign up for it. People might choose Starlink or some other option. So there's, as far as the money, I think all the county has always been doing there is, if you have additional monies that you are willing to open, well, we can laugh, but it's that funny ARPA money that sits over here that people say it's free money, but obviously it's not, because it's this federal piece of money. It's not saying to the people here in McMillan, more money out of your pocket, it's this other piece.
Yeah, I mean, we're fully in support of expanding broadband, and my internet at my house, and I'm just a mile and a half down the road, it sucks. So I'm all for it, but I don't think we're gonna spend our township's money on that. We've got road issues that are a much bigger issue here.
A letter of support, though.
Yes, definitely a letter of support.
Did you guys all read the draft that was sent with that original email from the,
The yellow highlights on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
so if we take out the sentence where it says, furthermore, we support this project with a financial match and certain amount, are you good with putting it on letterhead?
Yes.
The other things that he was asking for too, that I don't know if you did in the past on the last letter, was to also allow or to help assist with permits and for, like I say, that help them out with their educational stuff. I don't know if that's something we want to throw in there as a,
Tell them to apply for a grant. God bless.
And if the permits or whatever would just be basically allowed to use the right of way, the township right of way to put stuff in, that's about the extent of it.
It's not a huge deal, but it's one of the deals that he had also brought up, that we were fighting with the permits and stuff. State likes that when people are in. Yeah. And it doesn't really cost us anything.
You don't even know what permits we would do, because that's how American County zoning for any permits anyway, so it's
Yes.
a new point for the township.
Again.
Motion to approve the broadband letter of support minus incentives,
Minus the,
Minus the further.
financial
sentence.
obligation.
okay.
I'll second that.
A motion and second to approve the letter. Is there any further discussion on that? Since there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Ayes have it. I did say, aye. Do we have a representative from the school board here tonight?
Take that hat off.
It's him
Put
again.
another hat on.
We do appreciate that, by the way.
Sure thing. I saw it on the agenda, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to say something. So for those who don't know, I'm Chris Dickinson, I'm the president of the Stratford Board of Education. This is, and this is Scott Winch, who's our current superintendent, who's actually gonna be retiring here in June. And we actually did hire a new superintendent and had that approved tonight, which will be Nate Lehman, who's the principal at Mosaic High School.
Can I make an observation?
Absolutely, go ahead.
If somebody cut off your arm, you'd probably never say a word. I was
I
watching,
might say, oh.
I thought you were flying an aircraft for crying out loud.
Yeah,
I'm just,
that's fine. Yeah, I am a kind
nothing
of
negative.
reacher and all that, so, I don't know where I'll stand, maybe I'll just stand over here as I.
Normally we do.
Mike over
Oh,
there.
okay, sounds good. Hopefully we'll be talking too long. So as representative of the school board, we have an operational referendum that's coming up on April 5th. And we just wanted to go ahead and answer any questions that people would have had. There's some information that is on our website, some FAQs about that. That is good. An operational referendum is for teacher salaries, for utilities costs, heating, maintenance of the buildings, that sort of thing. The reason I say that is a few years back, we had a facilities referendum, which was building onto the school, changing the HVAC and that sort of thing. Those are two different kinds of uses of funds. The other reason I mention that is because we currently are using our capital improvement project fund and some donations to work on the football field and the track. So the vote in April, on April 5th, has nothing to do with that. That is being funded separately. So I just want to point that out because some people have contacted me and said, well, why would I vote for this, to do the facilities when you did this before and now you're doing something else. They are two separate entities. So I just wanted to point that out. And with that, I'll leave it to Scott.
Sure.
To get into it a little bit.
Well, does anybody have any questions about the operational referendum or any of the specifics? I guess it's more if you live in the Stratford School District than in the Marshfield one. Be happy to answer them. I do have information. There's an article in the Direct Review, which is our local paper, which talks a little bit about imbalance of funding for schools. The average school gets about just under $12,000 in money. Stratford gets $10,000 a year per student. So we are what they call a low spending district. And that's been that way since 1993 when the revenue caps for school districts were put in place. But that's a pretty good general overview of school finance. That was in our local paper, so we thought we'd share that. I also have copies of the FAQ sheet that we put together about an operational referendum, and specifically the one that we're running in Stratford, some history. Part of the deal this year is there was no new funds given to any school districts in the state by the state government because of the federal dollars. So there's 48 school districts that are going for an operational referendum out of, I think, about 500 school districts in the state, 435, I think, to be exact. So a little over 10% of the districts are in the same boat. And this referendum that we're running is called a recurring referendum, which means it will stay in place after it's a 3-year phase-in. We're using the federal dollars that we get from that we've gotten from ESSER 3 this year to phase it in. So it would be $400,000 the first year, and another $400,000 on, so $800,000 the second year, and then another $400,000 in the third year to get to $1.2 million. And then that would be part of our revenue cap for the school district of Stratford moving forward.
So that's an open end.
It's called
I mean, Marshfield, so there's no,
Marshfield don't they do a non-recurring in Marshfield? Where they have to go back every 3 to 5 years?
no, they
just did it
quiet this last go around.
Yeah, their last one was a recurring referendum.
No.
Marshfield, just to point that out, you're looking at some of their data because, just in full disclosure, my daughter actually goes to Marshfield. So she's been there for her high school for various reasons. And what Marshfield was doing is every year since 2008, I believe, every so many years, they were going to referendum, non-recurring, every 3 years or so, and their last one was a recurring, so that they wouldn't have to go back to the public every 3 years, or every 5 years, or every 6 years. So that's what the recurring does. It opens, it raises the revenue limit. The formula for state aid is kind of, you have this revenue cap. There's only so much that we can go up to, and that doesn't get expanded. It's pretty complicated. So what you have to do then is you have to ask the public, can we raise that in order to pay for the needs that we have? And that's what that's allowing us to do over the course of 3 years. And then it's putting it at this point where it's a higher revenue limit. That doesn't mean we have to tax to that amount. It just allows us that opportunity, not knowing what the state's doing, not understanding exactly how our enrollment is going to be affected in the future. It gives us that wiggle room to do that. What's good about, just to mention, go ahead.
So if the taxpayers decide after, say, 5 years, they've changed their mind, what's the mechanism to reverse the recurring? Is there any way that the taxpayers can state a referendum to say no?
It's not another referendum, but you can come to the annual meeting of the school district and vote on the school budget. That's a town hall meeting. Everybody has a vote. Generally, the school board president runs the meeting, but somebody else could certainly be elected the chairman of that meeting, and that is the mechanism for not levying to the max. Our district, I think was 7 years. This is my 18th and final year. 7 years in the middle of that, we did not levy to the max because we didn't need all the money. We were doing quite well. We had a very large increase in enrollment, and now we're starting to see that the last of our big classes graduated last year. So we have done that in the past without any referendum, and it's certainly something the board considered when they thought about the recurring versus non-recurring, is that if we ever get to that spot where we don't need to tax that much, we would not. Right?
Yeah, and it was a significant discussion in the board whether we would do a recurring or non-recurring. It was specific to that reason, that are we going to be completely comfortable with raising that limit, and with people. In essence, it comes down to trust. Can you trust that the district is spending money wisely? Our cost per pupil out of the 424 districts, our cost per student is 44th in the state. Marshfield, for example, is 106. It's about $10,700 that we spend per pupil. But just as an example, if it's $10,000, you're after this $10,000 revenue per student. If you lose 20 students, that's $200,000. So we've gone from 900
960 was about our high.
960, and we're down to
About 811, I think our count was this year.
So that's nothing that we could have done. You know, people would say, well, maybe you shouldn't have gone to referendum 6 years ago to build onto your facilities and fix your facilities, but our facilities, if you walk through them, were in terrible shape. So it was $8 million just for HVAC. Right, so you had to do that, so if you're gonna do that, do we need other facilities, science rooms and all that, we fixed all that as well, as opposed to spending $36 million to build a new school. So,
We also haven't replaced the last 4 teachers that retired. We haven't replaced the last custodian that retired. So we've already decreased the amount of spending we have. But, you know, unless 20 students all leave from one class, you know, if you lose 1 in each grade level, that really doesn't just say, you know, get rid of a teacher, you know, or 2. It's just, you know, it doesn't quite work that way.
and
So
that is-
bottom line on this, where does the shortfall come in? Why is Stratford short on money? What is, this can be a short version, I don't want this long.
I'd say 2 reasons. Declining enrollment, so you're not getting that money from the state.
That speaks volumes,
That's
apparently the education system must suck.
And then the second thing, well, declining enrollment is every school district.
Yeah,
The only school district in the area that has increased enrollment, when we looked at it several years ago, was Abbotsford. And that's one reason why that is.
Is where?
Abbotsford.
Okay, I'm hard of hearing.
Okay, yeah, and that was the reason my hand.
I can hold my
Letter
hearing.
A. And that was because of the immigration into the area, to be very honest.
Mexicans.
Correct. So, I mean, every school district is facing this. We used to be in the same Edgar, for example.
Okay, I got another follow-up on that. So now, in order to get this referendum to pass, are you going to make threats like they did in Marshfield, where Susie won't be able to play clarinet in Pakistan, you know, and that type of
There's
thing?
nobody's name, there's nothing that's, you know,
I mean, you gotta correct them.
we have enough of the federal money. We're trying to use this federal money over 3 years to lessen the impact on the taxpayer. Okay, but if it doesn't pass, we have enough federal money that then the school board has a year of planning and hopefully seeing how they can improve the referendum or other things to do. But there's nothing on the chop block, there's nothing, there's a plan to spend $100,000 less every year to help this out, so we're not putting that big burden on the taxpayers. But there's nothing, we're not saying if you don't vote for it, football's gone or basketball's gone or choir or band, you know.
Yeah, that's a thing.
That ain't happening. We aren't doing that, at least not this year, we're not. I don't see the school board doing that.
No, I think the school board that we have in place now has a more conservative mindset when it comes to
Here's
this.
a suggestion, yeah, just tell everybody that you're doing away with sports. If we're focusing on education, look at the money you save.
They say the ideal school district is a.
I had a hand signal guy.
Well, no, actually, I come right back at you. You said that Marshfield School District, one of the things they said they were gonna cut was middle school sports. Now, you tell me if they were actually gonna cut that. If Marshfield School District cut middle school sports, where would parents go? They would move their kid to another district that had it.
Yeah.
So the idea that there was no way that we would cut sports out of our Stratford.
I'll tell you what.
It's an identity factor.
As a senior citizen, I've always, and I felt this way for a long time, that there's way too much focus on sports and not enough focus on education. We got a bunch of dummies running around, can't make change for Christ's sake, can't tell time, can't do this, can't do that.
I would say sports is a very small, single percentage points of our budget. It comes nowhere near to.
Less than
Still makes no
3%.
difference, it's still money. Money going out.
That's a good point. I agree with it. But it also is, let me ask you, one question, just about, I don't know if it's okay. And that would be this, if Stratford got rid of sports, okay, why would people first, for sports, they would choose other districts? We know that, for a fact. I mean, just with COVID, people chose other districts. People came to our district, leaving Marshfield because of how it was being handled. They went to Spencer, they went to Auburndale, we know this. If we got rid of sports, people wouldn't go into that building. People don't go into the building, then they're gonna start saying, why do I even need to be here at all? Because I'll finish the point.
I don't agree with you on that.
Because I can do virtual school.
Pardon me?
I mean, you can do school at home. My son did virtual school during COVID the entire time. So one of the important factors for sports, especially when it comes to schools, is the identity of the area. I'm not saying that it's not an option to cut.
Yeah, but look at
everything's on the table.
Look at all the kids that do not go out for sports and are not involved in sports, what do you think you're gonna do? Follow, you go someplace else where there's sports? I don't buy it. I mean, it's not gonna happen in my lifetime, I realize
I
that.
think the point is, we're not even gonna tell people that, because if you threaten to do
Well,
something.
piss them off, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, but you gotta be willing to do it if the referendum doesn't pass.
Want me to come over and do it, make the announcement? I'll do it for you.
Now, the other part of that equation is state aid. So in this budget, we didn't get an increase in state aid, right? So what the legislature and the governor are doing is their political posturing, right? So we don't want to go ahead and agree to what that person wants, and I don't want to agree to what they want, because I don't want them looking like the winner. And so in the budget, we didn't get any increase in the aid. So that affects it as well. So then we'll have to see what happens in the election, if that's going to change anything. And that will also affect how then we would move forward if the referendum did pass. So, good question, Phil. And I'm sorry.
What would happen if we didn't have school of choice?
What's that?
What would happen if we didn't have school of choice? We went in the district that we were assigned.
Yep, you're right, I mean, that's definitely a factor. His daughter's one of them, she wanted more of a dance atmosphere and those kind of things, of the fine arts, more so than what we offered. And they chose to open their oldest daughter in Marshfield just because of that.
So there goes your tax
What's,
dollars.
What's that?
There goes your tax dollars.
Yeah.
It gets split. The resident district retains a percentage of that.
Right, but not the whole thing.
So what, Chris, I don't know if you can tell me, but I noticed here the per pupil values differ between
Yep.
Athens, Edgar.
That's the
Marathon,
revenue
Stratford.
limit, yeah.
Why is there such a huge difference
Just
between
because
Marathon and Stratford?
in 1993, when the revenue limits got put in for school districts, that you kind of got stuck right where you were at. And, and whatever you want to think about the school districts, if you're a local spending district like we are, you got penalized for being fiscally responsible basically back then. Those that had the money and were taxing at that level got put at that level. Stratford had their level down here and got caught down there.
They're penalized for doing
Yeah.
that.
And there's others too. I was just at a legislative meeting today, and 4 of us sitting around in a group of 9 or 10 were all low-spending schools. And it's just, you got caught at that level, and the only way to catch up is through a referendum. They have put some provisions in the state budget in the past to raise that low revenue ceiling, but that, again, didn't happen this year. Well, thanks for your time. Appreciate you not coming.
I think you guys, on what this is
You guys
great.
showed up.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Go educate Martians, stuff like that. That was-
I got it. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
At least you had the guts to show up, Marshfield never did.
Just trying to provide information. Yeah.
Thank you.
The guy with the big
Welcome.
mouth is in Marshfield, so don't worry about it. I said the greater guy with the big mouth, he's in Marshfield, don't worry about it.
I like to hear that, questions. Good conversations. Thank you.
Thank you.
She said the gray-headed guy is full of shit.
Visitors and public comment?
George, public comment?
This is public comment? Yeah, I got one. Shouldn't even have to ask, for Christ's sake. Okay, all right, regular pressure tank, I got that. Hey, them cemetery plots at the Tom McMillan supposedly owe them. Did anybody follow up on anything on that? I'm curious, just curious.
At this time, no.
Pardon me?
At this time, no.
Okay. What happened to the highway committee and the finance committee that we used to have, the township used to have? We used to meet once a month or whatever it was.
I
The
believe,
finance committee basically dissolved itself because members had quit. Highway committee is actually still out there. So
And I
think
have
it's
not
not
had
being
anything.
utilized.
I just have not done it.
Has anybody, bids for road materials, has anybody done anything with that?
Just right here.
Did you
On the
mention that
agenda.
to begin with, or no?
No, did not.
Okay, we're not mind readers. Tom?
I just wrote a
It's-
note and gave it to
it's-
him.
For the agenda.
Okay, I got a open records request for Patty I would like to know how many times the ladder truck has gone out on actual smoke and flame fires in the last 3 years. No big rush on it.
Oh God, don't say that, you have to be waiting for yours like I am for mine.
How many times in the last 3 years?
Yeah. Or 2 years, whichever one's easiest for you. I'm just curious. And one of the reasons I'm asking that is, about a month and a half ago or so, there was a fire out by Richfield. I don't know if you guys were called on it, probably not. And it was kind of funny because the guy that showed me a Google map of the thing, and his shed burned, okay, totally, it was a big ass shed. And the fire trucks could not get in the driveway to get up to it. It was a real long driveway, went through the woods or whatever the hell it was. And they were, I don't know if they were carrying 5-gallon buckets or whatever the hell they were doing, but the shed went to the ground. And I had asked Bauer about whether this ladder truck is gonna fit in driveways. I don't buy it, I don't think it will. Most driveways, I just don't. So, that was the reason I asked that. Oh, then I wanna ask, on that check that came back, Patty, that you said you had the envelope and whatever, were you accused of not paying that bill?
Only by Marathon County, because they never got the
Okay,
check.
that was that's what I was asking. Okay, that's it for me, that's all I got. Oh, no, I got one more. Bauer, seeing how you worked at Marshfield Fire Department at one time, right?
Yes.
Did they have a Dalmatian dog? I'm asking for a reason.
I do not, I mean, for the time that I had worked there, no.
Well, I just thought maybe it'd be a good idea for the fire department here to get a Dalmatian to ride around because, you know, what the hell, you guys spend money like, you know, like drunken sailors in a whorehouse anyhow, so. Just a thought. And that's it for me, that's all I got.
Does anyone else have, got?
Rod, when we had, Dominic was down here when we were doing the maps, and we mentioned, and I know you saw it too, we've got 2 roads that have such similar names. Sawyer Creek and Sawyer Road. And you guys have had a problem with it with the fire department. Is there some way you can get this remedy, get that road changed so that it works, so it's safer?
What we're probably gonna end up doing with this, and I know it's probably not what you wanna hear, but we're probably gonna let it sit for a little while. And the reason that we're gonna let it sit for a little while is because in the zoning and everything and planning, everything that's going on up there right now, they're having a huge turnover in people. And I guess I would like everything to kind of settle down, and then I would like to address who's left up there.
To me,
So that, yes,
I'm not on either of those roads. It's the citizens that live on those roads that get the calls. I mean, it's really easy to mistake Sawyer and Sawyer.
How close are they?
Huh?
How close are those roads?
They're end to end almost.
but they're not, you're driving miles around to get from one to the other. It's not, it's not like you can drive down one and then it's right over there. It's,
It dead ends.
and the fire department had voiced its opinion on that way back when, but that's what the county decided with the board member that was in charge of it, so.
You know, just keep it on their map, on their radar, because otherwise it'll get forgotten until the next guy has a heart attack there.
Yes.
Yeah, I got one more question, I don't know whichever one I want to answer. Was he out plowing today at all?
Yes.
Was he?
Yes.
Okay.
He didn't plow north of C on Galvin.
He probably, most likely, was only doing the asphalt.
Right,
If you try to plow with the way the weather is right now and with the way the roads are right now, you're gonna plow the gravel off.
Right, I know.
And I don't know what his plan is for tomorrow. I mean, our temperatures are supposed to be climbing, and we wanna try to leave the gravel on the roads, so.
Maybe it'll melt, is that what you think?
I thought maybe he wasn't out because it wasn't Sunday and overtime, so, but that's just my observation. You guys ain't got a sense of humor, Jesus Christ.
I was at home and got called back into work too. I just barely got here.
Anyone else?
Carly, you got any,
Unless you guys have any questions for me.
did you get any information that you had? Is there anything you want to address with any?
Not like I had sent out my concerns, so if you guys, that's why I'm here tonight, any of you guys had questions for me regarding the concerns I sent? you could ask me freely tonight, otherwise, I guess feel free to contact me, however, everything that was said has been said.
Well, do you have concerns that you think we need to address?
They were listed, did you?
Well, we can't do that individually. If we need to discuss something that's not on the agenda, but if you need to bring it to our attention,
Right.
because it's complicated how things can happen.
Okay, so I guess what is your question? What are you looking for clarification on anything that was in there, or you want?
What was the process before? Who was the treasurer before? I mean, was there issues prior to, or, I mean, is there something that you're looking for the clerk to do that's?
Yeah, the only thing that I wanted is just like the statements and things that I've been requesting that I haven't received. So,
Statements
like,
as far as what?
like any accounts that we don't receive in our mailing, so like anything that's mailed. I was double verifying like amounts, like spending amounts, those kind of things. I can't give a financial report because I can't put the numbers together because I don't have billing statements, I don't have that kind of stuff. So,
So you're looking for utility bill statements?
yeah, like just
So
an
monthly-
overall
monthly
saying
electric and
this is
gas.
generally where we're at total. You know what I mean? Like to be able to say like, that's what we're doing. I don't get those, so.
I can't really do anything. I just.
So Patty, in the past, how have the bills for the fire department been handled? Have they been copied to the fire department?
They get there quarterly, just like the board does. The budget versus actual for quarterly. I've never individually made copies of the bills. Never.
Seems
I will
awful.
say this. Continue to allow a subordinate of the fire department to publicly evaluate my performance will be a violation of open meeting law. Motion to adjourn.
It's,
I mean, we can't really comment on this stuff,
no.
so I can't really comment on it. So,
If we have questions, we can ask questions, but that's about the extent of what it is. I mean,
yes,
it's
we can't. Yes.
over the years of I being down here, it seems like there's always been a disconnect, and that road's the line that there's a huge disconnect. It's, some bills went to the fire department, and they didn't get here, some got here, and, you know, depending upon where it goes, it's, I don't know if when you guys buy stuff, if the receipt, because it's, I don't know how the charge goes, I don't know if it's on the mill and fire department, if it automatically goes over there, and you guys get the receipts first. I don't know how that works. I know that it's just, that road's been a huge divide line in this township for years.
Still is.
So let me ask, what's the big deal between what's her face here and Patty? She's the treasurer over at the fire department, am I correct? There's some kind of issue between the two? Is it pretty close to that? Come on, Bo, you're the chairman, for Christ's sake, answer something, don't sit there like a bum.
Yeah.
I can't comment on this. This is not on our agenda, so I cannot
It's
comment on this.
I'm asking.
But you're letting your board discuss it?
I'm just asking you a question. Here's the point I'm gonna make is, if them two have a tiff with each other, okay, Patty was here all day Thursday, I believe, and I guess she was over there also. Why in the world did they get together? Why didn't you take it upon yourself, because you're the chairman, and rectify this? Get them to work something out if there's some big issues, for Christ's sake. Try acting like a chairman was, you know? Do something, don't just sit there.
Motion to adjourn.
What?
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion on that? Since there is none, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Once again, say nay. Ayes have it, we're adjourned.
Train of command would be good too.
How's it going?